Hi and a big welcome back to my channel. Okay, just to update you, I'm here in Pattaya in Thailand and I've been joined by a good friend of mine by the name of Lee Barrett. Lee Barrett has a very successful channel with over 250,000 subscribers. Myself, I'm about almost at 1,000. Anyway, today's... hi Lee.
Hello. Hi all.
Hi. So today's conversation is about what's happening in the news for the last 3 days now, and it's really quite strong. Some of the media is pushing out, particularly Western media, is pushing out a lot of controversy, a lot of situations which, in some ways, the Western media is relishing.
Oh, absolutely. They're rubbing their hands together with glee, thinking, oh, it's going to be the end of the Chinese government, blah, 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 which is just wishful thinking, I think.
Yeah, it is. Why do you suspect that the foreign media is doing this?
Because they like to stir up trouble if it's to do with China. You know, that's my thought. You know, anything to do with China, they want to report as negative and bad, because they don't see us China being a Western democracy. That's very important to them.
Well, actually, you're saying that every time a news outlet in the West talks about China, they always have the word CCP or Communist Party before they even say the word China.
Of course they do.
Yeah, just to stir up trouble. Yeah. Both Lee and I have spent a combined period of about 32 years out in China, and I suspect Lee will be going back to China much sooner than I. I hope to go back, but Lee has got family and friends out there. Now we both have family and friends. Sorry, we both have friends in China, and I'm talking to them constantly. So I'm more aware, or we are more aware than a lot of viewers on the channel. And a lot of the viewers, a lot of you out there, will only get your news from the TV or on YouTube from other subscribers, from other outlets.
Yeah.
And some of those opinions are really quite in favour of the students rioting and suggesting there's going to be a downfall of the Communist Party or CCP. Do you think, in terms of scale, do you think these outlets are correct?
Not at all. I mean, there are demonstrations, and it's good that the Chinese people can express their opinions.
Yeah.
And it actually sort of lays flat the theory that people in the West think that Chinese can't express their opinions, they can't demonstrate, but they do.
Absolutely.
Looking into this, there's literally hundreds of demonstrations occur over China on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And I think most of the people in the West don't really comprehend just how big China is and how many people there is. So these protests have involved a few thousand people at most. They've been at a few university campuses and they've been in a few city centres. And the scale of them is very small if you take that into comparison to the amount of people in China. However, that doesn't diminish the message they want to put. And I understand that there are a lot of Chinese people who are pretty fed up.
Oh, without a doubt.
Zero approach.
Both you and I suffered from the lockdowns when we was there. You left this year, I left about 12 months ago, and I had some big problems, but at the same time I was watching news back in the UK, and in the UK they was having big problems.
Yeah,
the only people that could travel were prime ministers, and they could have parties, but they were punished later.
Look at Australia, they even banned their own citizens from returning, and they had some very severe lockdowns in Australia. And
Canada. Yeah. Canada was bad, and they blocked bank accounts of anyone who opposed it, especially the truck drivers. Yeah. So, how do you think this all started? Because it wasn't because of COVID, but the fire in
Northwest
China.
The catalyst was the fire in Urumqi in that apartment. Now again, it's very, very sad what happened, but I can cite, I think a year or two ago there was a fire in an apartment block in Taiwan where many died. A few years ago there was one in London where 70 people died. Now there's news going around, and I think it's difficult to actually get to the root cause, but it was said that the emergency services couldn't get there because there was cars parked there of people who couldn't get out of the apartments. I've also heard stories that people were locked in those apartments, but I've also heard contrary to that, where say no, that's not true because people could go and exercise in their compound. So I don't know. But 10 people were killed. It was very, very sad. But I think that is what has been the catalyst for these demonstrations.
I've also heard recently, actually I heard yesterday from a friend back in China, that some organisations that are testing Chinese people for COVID are not quite as accurate as they should be, and they're overestimating the amount of people that have the virus. You know, let's say they're saying 4,000 people have the COVID, when really it may only be 200 or 300.
That's just interesting, because there was something my wife pointed out to me yesterday. It was on Weibo, I believe.
Yeah.
That they found that if you eat an orange shortly before you get tested, it's likely your test will show positive.
Well, okay, you can pass this back to your wife. There were cases back in the UK when I was there, where students were drinking orange juice, Lucasade and things like this before they went to school, so they don't have to go to school because they were tested. So young people did work out, oh right, okay, high vitamin C foods and drinks will push that up. So it's possible that some people are doing it accidentally and then going for their test. Yeah. Right, so there is some things about this COVID lark that I'm still not fully aware. I've got these here, just Lee asked me, why have you got them? Okay, these are the things that we all used in the UK, and I got one of these when I was in Hong Kong. So that one's from the UK and that's from Hong Kong. They're made in China, but they don't give them to Chinese people.
No, they do. There's a lot of places where I have it now.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought they didn't.
In Beijing, and they were administering them.
And but the
where
medical
they
balls
are
are not.
Now, I don't know, but I know they were using those in both Shanghai and Beijing.
What about in Shenzhen? Yeah.
Not as far as I'm aware in Shenzhen.
All right. Okay. All right. All right. So, for those of you in China, apparently you can get them in some places, but local authorities, sometimes the government push down ideas and how they want to control this, and then local officials take it a bit too far, a bit too heavy-handed.
Yeah, I think that's the problem in a lot of places, that local officials, they're nervous, so they all overreact. And we've seen recently there's been a number of occasions where a building has been locked down, and then the sort of a lot of these complexes have like a committee, and the committee member has gone to local authorities and say, hey, you're not supposed to lock us down, you know, we don't fit the criteria that the central government, and then the local authorities have released the lockdown on the building, but they're very quick to lock down. And it's only when they're challenged that they change that decision. And that's happened on a few occasions now, where they've changed the decision because they've actually gone. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, the central government brought out a 20-point list of how it should be carried out. But as you just alluded to, a lot of the local authorities and local governments are going a bit over the top. I think actually Shenzhen is a good example of somebody of a city that's not done that. I only experienced one 5-day lockdown, and even though it was a lockdown, I was still able to go out for short times to buy groceries. And that only lasted 5 days. The main thing in Shenzhen has been the amount of testing you have to do. You know, in case you have to test almost every day, if not every day. But as far as lockdowns go, they've been very sort of local and for fairly limited amounts of time. We've not had anything like the Shanghai, where they were locked down for weeks and weeks and weeks. And Shenzhen have seemed to control it very, very well so far. You know.
All right, okay. So I'm going to end the interview here, but in conclusion, I would like to say to any viewers out there in the Western Hemisphere that the news you're getting, remember, is probably about 0.2% of the genuine thing that is happening in China, and this 0.2% is hitting all MSN mainstream media, and it seems like that is the case all over China, and it's not. It's very, very isolated.
It is, and I think generally, certainly in the UK, I feel the news that is given out by MSN is very twisted and distorted and biased, to have a very anti-China. I really have no idea why the UK have gone so anti-China, to be honest. Really don't know, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's where we are, yeah.
That is where we are. Finally, don't go anti-China, don't go anti-Chinese people. They're dealing with the best they can in the situation that they're kind of stuck in at the moment, but it's not so bad as the media is making out. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you very much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and don't forget, subscribe to Lee's channel because he needs 1 million for some reason. Anyway, so up to you, mate.
For now, as always, take care.
All the best. Goodbye.